Welcome to Three Count Commentaries. So every week I come in here and I vent about how bad Raw is. I just talk about how terrible the show is, how it's like sticking needles in my eyes, all these sorts of things. And it wasn't that much different this week, except I over the last several minutes, I decided this was exactly the show that Chicago deserved. Chicago deserved this really, really bad show. Why? Because they're assholes. They're dipshits. If you want to go on TV and make the show about you, chanting for CM Punk, who doesn't work there and has not worked there in 7 years, chanting for Bray Wyatt, who you know for a fact doesn't work there, won't be there because you want to hijack the show, then you deserve all the rematches in the world, all the drip jokes in the world. You deserve it. You deserve it. I wish Raw could have been 6 hours so you could have got more of it. They could have did another random ass tag team match just to fuck with you. Because apparently you don't deserve nice things. Now Chicago, of course, is an A town. WWE has towns, A towns, B towns, etc. Chicago's an A town. You would expect they would give a great show on Raw because Raw is an A town. Chicago's an A town rather. No, they gave us a shitty Raw, which is no different than any other shitty Raws. And to be quite honest, they might as well just show reruns at this point. With the only slight difference being that they 50-50 booked everything. So everybody who lost last week won this week. So, I mean, it is what it is. No stories are really furthered because nobody talks. So it's just, well, these two guys wrestled last week. This guy won. Therefore, this guy wins this week. And nobody's gone anywhere. It's, hamsters on a wheel. So this Raw review is going to be really short. Because to be quite honest, I tuned out at the first rematch. I tuned out. This was a very women's heavy show too as well. The women not only got the main event, but they actually got two other matches on this show as well. So that was different. That was new. But the show started with Goldberg, MVP, and Lashley. So Goldberg came out to cut a promo. Lashley, of course, says that, Goldberg has the choice to make. Either he wants to be remembered as a champion or he wants to be remembered as a tragedy. And that's really all they had to say. Lashley didn't really have to say much. Goldberg came out there and said that he feels that Lashley is scared. And that he lives by the spear and he dies by the spear. Goldberg will always be Goldberg. So, he's talking about his, him being a legend and everything, an icon and all that. So Lashley kind of was just like, okay, look, whatever. I'm not interested in this. He then sees, I think his name is Gage, I'm guessing 15 or 16-year-old son of Goldberg. This dude looked like Bobby Heel the last time we saw him. Now he's grown. He's like really grown. I didn't know how long ago it was when I saw him. Like I thought it was 2 or 3 years ago, but it's apparently been like 5. And that should show you the difference between when boys hit puberty, because that's a big kid now. He's a pretty big kid. And MVP got in his face and basically talked about how Goldberg wrote his own death warrant and how he's gonna get real messed up by Bobby Lashley. And this led Goldberg to spear MVP. So they still not adding any heat to this feud. It's essentially the same story as Reigns and Cena, where old guy challenges young guy. Did I say this like 2 or 3 times already? I feel like I'm having a rerun. It's the death of the old guys. So that's exactly what's happening here. Lashley is trying to get up in the pantheon. He feels like he's already there, and Goldberg is being a gatekeeper. Goldberg has said before that his job is to take people to finishing school, make sure that they know what they're doing, make sure they can have a good sprint. He's not there to take up too much time, take up too much of a spot. Goldberg has a match, and this is kind of the thing I never really understood about people who complain about Bill Goldberg is he has a match, one. He's not there for a long period of time. He doesn't eat up a lot of TV time. Unlike other legends, sometimes like you may say Edge, his matches go 40 minutes. He might have a long promo segment, several long promo segments before he get that long match. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that, in comparison, Goldberg eats up a very little time. And then he also, so the benefit of bringing Goldberg in, does not outweigh the risk. Well, it outweighs the risk, I should say, because if you can get that interest in the match by bringing Goldberg in, then you can justify having a pretty big card. The problem is there is no one to benefit from this now. Goldberg should have had to wrestle somebody. And I know it may not make any sense because Goldberg is a legend, but just to pop a rating on Raw at least, it should have just said, Goldberg will wrestle. You have to beat MVP. If you beat MVP, I'll give you a title shot. And then MVP does a 2-minute job to Goldberg, and that's it. Just to pop the rating, just to get the crowd hot, just to give them something different, just to give Goldberg a win so that he looks legitimate when he faces Lashley. That's all they needed to do. I would have preferred that. And, they still got some time for that. I'm pretty sure that's not going to happen because they probably don't want to pay Goldberg for that. But if you're going to, they're also trying to, what they've been doing, and I've noticed this, is they've been trying to balance out the whole USA SmackDown thing, Fox USA. Because remember when there was a story that came out that when they had Rey Mysterio and Roman Reigns as a Hell in a Cell match on SmackDown, USA was kind of like, yo, you doing Hell in a Cell matches on TV now? What up? And so they did Xavier Woods versus Lashley for no fucking reason in a Hell in a Cell match on Raw. So I got a feeling that if John Cena wrestles a match on SmackDown, Goldberg will wrestle a match on Raw. And that's just kind of how it's going to be. So Cena's going to wrestle dark matches. Therefore, Goldberg is not going to wrestle on TV. So it's unfortunate, but I think they should do it. I think it will be worth it. I think pick a good crowd, a crowd that's not a marked crowd like Chicago, maybe even a B-town or something like that, where you won't get that silly Wyatt chant or them stupid CM Punk chants, and give them a Goldberg match, especially somewhere they probably wouldn't expect it. I think that would be fun, but these people suck. Raw's booking is bad. Anyway, Drew McIntyre, disqualification, win over Veer and Shanky. He then whipped out his sword, and because those guys were beating him with chairs, he whipped out his sword. He fought these guys off with swords. For some reason, the biggest guy of the bunch is Shanky, and he's always the one showing fear. He's always the one backing off. And Drew McIntyre pointed his sword at him. Apparently, Drew McIntyre's sword has a name now. I think he said his name is Angela, which is the name of the Valkyrie from Marvel Comics. Well, she was originally from the Spawn comics. So it's interesting. Just more nerd stuff. I'm pretty sure those two things are not related. Jinder Mahal then said that Drew McIntyre threatened their lives and karma will come to him. I would have just had him arrested, but you assaulted the guy with a chair, so you can't really call the police after you assault the guy with a chair, right? Then you have Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax. This match was actually very interesting because I had never seen it before. Nia Jax got busted open. I didn't even see how she got busted open, but she got a pretty good leak going there. That added a lot to this match, actually. It made it very unique. It made me pay attention. And Rhea Ripley wins. She wins with a schoolgirl roll up. Not the most convincing win in the world, but Nia Jax is kind of booked strong most of the time. Sometimes she's booked like she's the big show of the women's division. All they do is flip a switch one week and she's tearing people apart and there's no competition. And then the next week she's all my hole and doing love stories and dumb shit like that. She's the big show of the women's division. So Nia Jax is, it is what it is. After the match, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax started to argue, and they didn't break them up. They just let them argue, and Shayna Baszler got really frustrated and stormed off. This left Nia Jax by herself, and then Rhea Ripley did the riptide on her, which not much help from Nia Jax. Let's be honest. she's not the most agile big woman in the business. Then we get our first rematch of the night. Mansoor and Mustafa Ali versus T-Bar and Mace. Nobody cuts a promo to talk about anything. No reason why this match was a rematch. Mustafa Ali, hometown boy, gets beat. He loses in his hometown. Typical WWE, by the way. I know that kind of bothers people that, WWE goes for the cheap heat by beating the hometown guy, because Mustafa Ali did get pretty good pop. And then they just had, even though he didn't lose, Mansoor lost, but he got beat up after the match, where it seemed like Mustafa Ali was going to turn on Mansoor, and that's what it looked like. It looked like, he was frustrated that Mansoor lost, and that he might rejoin T-Bar and Mace. And then as they loomed over him, he shoved Mansoor aside and let them beat him up. So we're telling the story visually, not verbally, that Mansoor and Mustafa Ali are becoming a cool team. Okay, whatever. I don't mind these guys. I don't mind Mansoor and Mustafa Ali being a tag team. I actually like it. But I'm not a fan of the 50-50 booking. I don't want to have to say that 100 times throughout this show. Let's just say it once. I don't like the 50-50 booking. Give somebody some momentum. That's been the biggest problem with Raw. Is there's absolutely no momentum. There's no energy on this show. There's nobody really to get behind. Because, hey, if you get behind somebody, then they lose. And then you're like, what? Why would you do that? And then they win matches they ain't got no business winning. And then they lose matches for no reason. They lose to people they ain't got no business losing to. Like, it's all silly. It's all silly. So then we see Nikki Cross working out, and she's just running back and forth. I mean, she's a super dork. She's very likable. I have no problem with Nikki as a performer. I don't even have a problem with the character anymore. I do have a problem with certain things about the character, but we'll get to that in a moment. But she's a dork. It's like she's short, she's silly, she's funny looking, especially with the mask. It's all ridiculous. It's all absurd. Charlotte comes out to cut this promo. First, she starts talking about Simone Biles and how she sympathizes with Simone Biles, who, due to mental health concerns, didn't want to participate in the Olympics. And she empathizes with that because she has also been going through concerns of her own. Then she owned Allstate Arena for chanting about Becky Lynch. Again, people chanting non sequiturs, chanting for people who are not in the building, that are not there, just trying to take attention off for themselves, being marks. So she owned them, said that Becky's not there, and that she's the one who sold out the arena. And of course they got boo. In any event, she started talking about how Nikki stole the title from her, and that was cowardly, and that the Money in the Bank is a cheap, cowardly way of winning the title. She's been cashed in on 3 times, and that's the only way you can beat her is by cashing in the Money in the Bank. And that's the only way people can become relevant in this division. And that Nikki is a real champion, and she's gullible. And she's going to sacrifice herself tonight. And then Nikki Ash, whatever, hit Charlotte in the back with a chair. Charlotte didn't even see it. And this is where I mean by I have problems with the way that they're doing the character. Because basically I agree with Charlotte, and I shouldn't have to agree with the heel. The Money in the Bank is the weakest, stupidest way for a aspirational hero to win a title. If Nikki Cross really wanted to be an aspirational hero, she should have won the title the hard way. Also, attacking people from behind with chairs isn't something a hero would do. They did this similar to what they did with John Cena, when they had John Cena steal Finn Balor's title shot. This doesn't make you a hero. I get it. I get what you're trying to show me with Nikki Cross. You're trying to show me that she does have the killer instinct, that she does have the fire, that she does have the heart to fight when the time comes. But at the same time, why are you teaching kids that heroes fight people from behind? Why would you teach kids that? That's not a good lesson, And it's the same thing with the Money in the Bank. Why would you teach kids that, hey, you can take shortcuts in order to achieve your dreams and all that? No, that's terrible. That's terrible. When you have a character that is supposed to be like the aspirational hero, you're supposed to show people that, the hard way the easy way doesn't succeed. The easy way doesn't make sense. You should have, if anything, that should have been what Nikki Cross says to whoever has the Money in the Bank, saying like, winning the Money in the Bank, I mean, that's very nice and everything, but the Money in the Bank is too easy. It's too easy. You have to believe in yourself. Attacking people from behind, you don't need to do that. You can face people one-on-one, fight them head up and win. You have to believe in yourself. That's far better than Nikki Cross attacking Charlotte from behind. And, it's just not the appropriate way to write a hero. It's shitty. So let's talk about the match while we're there. Nikki Cross versus, I'm going to call it Nikki Cross, who cares? Versus Charlotte Flair, no holds barred. One of the tamest no holds barred matches I've ever seen. This match was essentially Charlotte dominating, with Nikki Cross showing resilience. And of course, they did a bad job of showing her resilience, because there was at least parts in this match, at least 2 or 3 times, where Charlotte had the match clearly won and she pulled Nikki up by the head. And, it's showing, of course, that Charlotte is, dominant, but she's mentally breaking. That she's, the pressure is too much. And she just doesn't take Nikki seriously. But she's still, when she's focused, she's tearing Nikki apart. She speared her through the barricade, powerbombed her through the table, and everything. And all that is fine and dandy. Had the opportunity to pin her once, she pulled her head up. Had an opportunity to pin her again, pulled her head up. Put her foot on her chest one other time, and Nikki kicked out. You had Charlotte yelling for Nikki to stay down. The crowd really, which had pretty much gone to sleep by this point because of all the badness that was Raw, they were waking up. Nikki was getting them up because she was showing good fire and waking up. Now, she didn't really get a big comeback, which is what I really was looking for. I'm always looking for the big comeback, especially when you have a baby face. You have to have a big comeback. Instead, they had a Bugs Bunny type finish where Charlotte goes to spear Nikki again. Nikki moves. Charlotte plows through the table, hoisted upon her own petard. Then she does a dangling neck breaker on Charlotte and wins the match. She won the match clean, not entirely convincingly, but she won the match clean. So 50-50 booking. It is what it is. Charlotte won last week. That means she lost this week. Really strange stuff. But I guess where do you go from here? Do you have a third match or fourth? Because Nikki technically won the first match too. Do you pass it over to now it's going to be Nikki and Rhea? I don't know. I guess we'll have to cross that stream of bile when we get there. So let's talk about Eva Marie. So Eva Marie says she didn't care about Natalya, didn't care about Alexa Bliss and that stupid doll, that the evolution has changed Doudrop, made Doudrop something special. Then Doudrop goes out there and loses to Tamina. What a Samoan drop. So after Doudrop loses, Eva Marie decides she's going to berate Doudrop. This leaves Alexa Bliss to pop up on the screen, to which, of course, assholes chanted for Wyatt. Then she announced that Eva Marie was the loser of the match. And then later in the show, Alexa Bliss, we goes to Alexa Bliss's playground, and all of this is very weird without Bray Wyatt. It's all very weird. But, continuing this character without Bray Wyatt is very strange. And I get why they're doing it, and I understand why they're doing it. And look, okay, they can do it. But there's just something now demented about it. And to that point, I don't know if anybody else noticed it, but did the opening credits where they blacked out? Because the Fiend is in those opening credits. So it seems Ric Flair is too. So now Ric Flair and the Fiend don't work there anymore. Did they black out the opening credits so that they wouldn't show Ric Flair and the Fiend? I mean, if you think that's the case, let me know in the comment section below. But I thought maybe it was my TV because I didn't see anybody else talk about it. But I had the audio, I just couldn't see it. So I was like, did they block this out? And they figured, we don't have enough time to change it because Flair just left earlier today and Fiend left on Saturday. Whatever. Maybe it's a conspiracy theory and I'm, pulling a Bixen span and I'm being a conspiracy theorist. I don't want to do that. Anyway, back to this crappy show. Bliss says that Lily has been influencing people for years. Jack the Ripper, the Zodiac Killer, Son of Sam, John Wayne Gacy, all these guys. This leads Doudrop to attack Alexa Bliss from behind. They invade in the playground. Eva Marie picks up the doll, calls the doll gross and ugly, throws it back down, and says that, the evolution is, done with this filth. And then we got Lily standing up on its own. Lily stands up on its own. I was like, no. This wasn't the worst. It was stupid, but it wasn't as dumb as a lot of the other stuff that they've been doing with Alexa Bliss and Lily. It wasn't that dumb. Still dumb though. So apparently the trajectory we're going here is Alexa Bliss and Eva Marie in a popcorn match at SummerSlam. The match is probably going to be all of 3 minutes. So, it ought to be short and sweet. And it's going to be mostly an entrance and everything, but whatever. I guess it's going to have to put something in to fill out the rest of this card. The SmackDown side of this show is going to be lit though. Hopefully Finn Balor is doing something major on that show. I got nothing. I think Eva Marie is a good heat magnet. I don't think they're doing a good job with her though. She's wrestling too much and they certainly losing too much. Just nobody can get any momentum. It's the typical booking of Raw. You're not allowed to have momentum. So let's go back into this crappy show. Riddle gets a new scooter. He's talking in riddles to Damian Priest. He's talking about having the power of Randy Orton flowing through his veins, which is creepy. That's creepy. I've got the power of Randy Orton flowing through my veins. It's like the Spirit. You see that? Now, the Spirit comic books are good. That Spirit movie with Samuel L. Jackson, dog shit. And he's talking about wanting to have the blood of Heracles. Not Hercules, Heracles. And that was supposed to make him a god. Whenever you start talking about having the blood of another man rolling through your veins, that man is not your dad or something. It's real creepy. Anyway, he asked Damian Priest if Damian Priest should be partying with chicks, which of course would be cool, but Damian Priest says that he's got to go hang out with The Miz. And this, of course, leads to the longest segment. It felt like one long segment. I know it was one segment, 2 matches, but this felt long. Miz and John Morrison. John M.F.N. Morrison. Have mercy, bro. So here's this thing about John Morrison. Now, here's the thing about comedy. Comedy is only funny. It's funny when it's absurd, And sometimes the most absurd, the more absurd a thing is, the funnier it is. Like if you ever watch stand-up comedy, you actually find yourself not laughing at the more relatable things, but laughing at the more ridiculous things. Like Dave Chappelle made a joke once about a baby selling weed. Like it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. Babies wouldn't sell weed, but it's absurd, but it fit the context of the moment. So when John Morrison he starts saying the wet guy is the best guy and the wet don't forget. I was like, oh my brain was like, holy shit. He is leaning so heavy into these water puns. He started calling people splash holes. This stuff is ridiculous. It is absolutely some of the most ridiculous crap ever. It is it's crap, dog. But I couldn't help but laugh because I was like, the wet guy is the best guy. No way. That one. Oh my God, bro. It's so ridiculous. Now the crowd, of course, has also caught on to the correct. They was actually doing it along with Miz and Morrison. I figured if they did it long enough, people would catch on. So they got 100 gimmicks between the two of them. And that's usually why they get so much time. Miz and Morrison have 1,000 gimmicks. And they're going to do pretty much half of them in the time allotted. So you give them splash holes. The wet guy is the best guy. They're going to do correct. The Miz is going to talk about being must-see. He's going to talk about being injured and all that kind of stuff. And they're going to go out there and do all their gimmicks and eat up a lot of time. And that's essentially what they did here. Now, Damian Priest was trying to talk about, I don't know, uninteresting things, being the United States champion and stuff like that. Something that might matter to the average fan. Doesn't matter at all to the Miz. He's not doing anything. So or John Morrison, he's not doing anything either. So they out there just making fun of him, fucking with him. And he starts talking about, oh, when I was a bouncer, I used to deal with bullies like you all the time. And they were like, shut up, bro. I just going on about nothing. Like, he's trying to tell this life story. Like, I've been in this business. And Miz like, I've been in the business 16 years. I've never been injured. And the first time I get hurt, you act like this. The first time I get in a ring with you, I'm in a wheelchair. Of course, Miz, he's hurt probably, but he's also probably faking too. And you got Damian Priest being an intelligent monster standing there. Miz, what's going on, brother? Why are you acting like this? What is you going on with you and these water guns? You better stop being so precocious, sir. And, all of these guys are just in the ring acting stupid. Just acting stupid. And, of course, this leads to, I just kind of want to punch you guys in the face. How about that? How about I punch you guys in the face? And John Morrison, it's whatever. It's just dripping. He's dripping, I guess. So they have the match. John Morrison versus Damian Priest. Damian Priest wins the match. I wrote down too much instant gratification. And what I meant by that was, for starters, that segment was way too long. The Miz TV segment. Secondly, I know that, he was an irritant and he pisses people off, but you don't have to give people instant gratification. You don't have to give them the gratification of hitting John Morrison or The Miz immediately. Because, I think it was Jake the Snake Roberts who said that wrestling is like sex. You have to build up to the climax, right? And what you see from wrestling today, with the exception of certain angles, is that they will give you immediately the climax. Immediately. Two guys will argue. They'll immediately start fighting. It wouldn't be a war of words or one guy would back down. They'd be like, all right, whatever. And he'll talk shit from a distance and he'll try to avoid them. And then eventually they clash and you get that, whoa. It might take 2 or 3 weeks before they really get into it and start fighting each other. Sometimes the guy might have to run away for almost a month before they finally make contact. That's old school wrestling days. That's before the Attitude Era. And I'm telling y'all, Attitude Era did irreparable damage to the business. Irreparable damage. Because the Attitude Era created this concept where you can fight people every week. You can make contact every single week and give people that instant gratification, and that's what they come for. And now, 20 years later, you can't get a fucking reaction from two guys arguing and now fighting. You can't. So this match between Damian Priest and John Morrison was never going to get over. Because, for starters, we've seen Damian Priest beat these two guys up already. Secondly, once they started arguing, you knew there was going to be a match, so it wasn't spontaneous. So this whole thing was dumb. Now, what was spontaneous is Sheamus. Sheamus comes out there, he attacks Damian Priest from behind. Then Ricochet runs to the ring. Ricochet got a pretty decent pop. I was surprised to see him. Ricochet comes out there, he bumps Sheamus a little bit. And I'm thinking, okay, Ricochet versus Sheamus. Okay, whatever. No. Because we just had John Morrison wrestle Damian Priest, guess what? We get to watch them do this all over again. That's why I say Chicago deserved this show. They were such assholes. They was chanting for people who weren't there. Okay, fuck them. John Morrison versus Damian Priest all over again. But this time he's going to throw Ricochet and Sheamus in there just for kicks. Again, John Morrison gets pinned. He got pinned twice in one night. I mean, it's like the Packers playing two football games in one day. It's stupid. I hate that. That's another thing that the Attitude Era has created. This concept that we're going to wrestle twice in one day, 2-3 times in a day. It's like, come on, man. No. Anyway, Ricochet slid across the floor in this match. I thought that was pretty funny. John Morrison turned outside the ring into a slip and slide and slid. He bowled him actually into the stairs, and that was pretty good. I thought that was funny. So the next match was Amos and Riddle, and let me tell you, Amos has got it. Amos scored. He's got what we need, man. Amos is the guy. He's the guy. If he can stay healthy, he's the guy. What made Amos the guy? Right? When he cut the promo before the match, he didn't really say much. He didn't say much. All he said was the scooter was last week, his spine this week. Then the drums started playing, and that's all I heard from his music was drums. And I know it's probably an African thing, but You know, what they say in Wu-Tang, the dumb are intrigued by the drum. By this point, I was brain dead on Raw. So I was basically, looking for anything to be interested in. But watching this match, it gave me, for starters, it said a lot about Riddle, that he, as over as he is, and he really is over with this audience, with this silly character. It says a lot that Riddle was so unselfish and that he allowed Amos to do all of this stuff to him. And Amos was destroying him. But the best thing about it is Amos was smart. He did not let Riddle knock him down. He was aggressive. He looked faster than he really should be. He looked more aware of where he is in the ring. He knew to let Riddle do his thing, but he never let Riddle knock him off his feet. You could tell, like, sometimes he'll hit him like a big knee strike, and Amos will pull an Undertaker. He'd stumble, grab the ropes, and stay up on his feet. That was his way of selling. He'd stumble, or he'll cover up and go into the corners or something like that, or he'll grab the ropes. That's the difference between big guys who learn how to work big and dudes like Brian Cage, who bump on everything. It's fucking stupid. It's stupid, right? But so Amos has got it. Whoever is training Amos, they're very, very smart. They're good guys. They're smart guys. All right. So Amos is the one. Karrion Kross and Keith Lee, though, don't know. I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this. I'm at a loss for words, man. Keith Lee just goes out there and beats Karrion Kross and beat him clean of the sheet. And I'm just kind of like, okay. They basically said, fuck NXT. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're doing it. It just is what it is. And we're stuck with this situation now. We're 50-50 booked Keith Lee and Karrion Kross. There's no point in getting mad about it. I guess it's cool to see so many people so interested in Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, considering they're not doing anything. So that was good that they actually worked and they would get the crowd back into it. That was good. But Kross losing, what does it mean for Samoa Joe to beat him? Nothing. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. Reggie defeated Akira Tozawa. Makes perfect sense that you would book the 24/7 champion better than the NXT champion and the United States champion and the WWE champion and the Intercontinental champion, who all have taken pins, and better than the women's champion except Bianca Belair, because everybody's eating pins except Reggie. So it makes perfect sense that you would book your 24/7 champion, who I'm guessing is the strongest champion on the show, because he doesn't fucking lose. He actually goes out there and beats his opponents. Well, I'll be damned. It's almost like, they rediscovered the wheel. They rediscovered fire, that you have a champion beat challengers. Of course, you have to ask the question, why the fuck does Reginald get a job match and Kross doesn't, and Keith Lee doesn't, and Nikki doesn't, and nobody else does, but fucking Reggie gets a squash match. But I like Reggie. Again, I want to see him do well. He actually explained why he doesn't have a French accent on TV this time, by saying that Carmella wanted him to have a French accent. But by this point, man, I think we've all seen it, and we all know Raw is a terrible, terrible show. But it's the show that Chicago deserved. It's a bad Raw. The show Chicago deserved. So now, I probably got another minute and a half. Let's talk about Ric Flair. So Ric Flair leaves WWE. Of course, it doesn't mean anything. And if we're being honest, Ric Flair would not have left if he didn't already have the bag set up in AEW. So let me be honest. I believe that we're probably going to see some Pinnacle thing with Ric Flair and probably Cody and the Horsemen versus the MJF and the Pinnacle. That's probably the plan. And I doubt Vince would have even let Ric Flair go if he didn't already have another plan or something to do. So I'm not really upset that Ric Flair left. He couldn't really contribute that much anyway. But he's going to be there. Tully's there in AEW. Arn is there. Let him go and make that cash, man. He needs it. So I'm okay with Rick leaving. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, sponsor the channel via Cash App or Subscribe Star. Thank you guys for your time, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why